All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr, winner of the Pulitzer Prize for Best Fiction, winner of the Andrew Carnegie Prize for Literary Excellence, and soon to be drama series coming out in November, which is kind of why I decided to finally read this. I had this book for years. I bought it, I assume, when it initially came out in paperback whilst I was working in a bookshop. I'm gonna cook with this one.
Let's cook.
I felt half of the book was not needed, in my opinion. So this is gonna be a spoiler-filled video. Essentially, the quick takeaway is, it's a good book, you know, it's moving, it's not mind-blowing in any way, in my opinion. I felt like if you're winning a Pulitzer Prize, your book needs to be almost revolutionary in the way it's presented. But it was just a good plot, I suppose, with actually half of the plot being much better, in my opinion, would have made a very good, shorter novel. But let's get into it. So, spoilers from now on. The book is split between two perspectives. The perspective of Marie-Laure, which is a blind girl from Paris, France, and Werner, who is a German boy from a industrial town in Germany, set basically spanning from just post World War I, so about the 20s, in, you know, Germany and France, up until technically 2014, but the majority of the book is from like the late 20s to just post World War II, like literally just after the war was ended. That's the bulk of our book, and it goes, basically every chapter goes between primarily their two perspectives. It goes from Marie-Laure's perspective to Werner's perspective, every now and then shifting to the perspective of a key secondary character. So Marie-Laure's father, a German general who is after something that Marie-Laure's father has, and also, I think at points, Werner's sister. Essentially, in my opinion, Marie-Laure's story is the more interesting story. I think Werner's story is there to kind of reinforce this idea of the brutality of Nazi Germany and the, you know, the Hitler Youth and the brainwashing of the Nazis. Marie-Laure's perspective is mostly to show you the brutality of the Nazis and brutality of Nazi occupation of France. And also, you know, sometimes the existence of collaborators with the Nazis. I have one main issue with Werner's perspective, and I think it's a personal belief. I do not like that they try to make a character that at the end of the day is a Nazi sympathetic. And not just him, but they try to make other Nazi characters sympathetic. And yes, that's probably part of the reason this book won so many awards, because it managed to make heinous characters sympathetic and made you try to care for them. Personally, I didn't care at all about them. Like, Werner's character, I cared a little bit, but that's because I spent half the novel with him. And his sister I cared for because she was, you know, she was a child who was, you know, not participating actively in Nazi things. But even people surrounding Werner, they tried to make sympathetic. There's only one, there's like Marie-Laure, her granduncle, and one of Werner's friends are the only three characters I genuinely wanted to sympathize with. And Werner's friend is mostly because he was like the antithesis of what a Nazi was and what the Nazis wanted, which is why he's a good character to make sympathetic in that world. But they spent a long time trying to make me really care about Werner. I just didn't. Like, they did the whole thing. They made him an orphan. They made him, you know, smaller than the other boys, a little bit scrawny. They made him love music, made him love a bit of a geek. You know, made him a good-ish friend. And in the end, I was just like, I don't care about this kid who is a Nazi. Marie-Laure's character I cared about because they did do the thing where, you know, again, spoilers, she's blind. That's not really a spoiler. You know, her father goes missing. The person who's looking after her post her father going missing, you know, passes away. Her granduncle isn't, you know, the best person to, you know, lead her as through her, you know, teen life. So genuinely sympathetic for her. Does a good job making her sympathetic, but I couldn't be sympathetic for Werner, even up until his, you know, untimely demise, which is one of actually the positives of this book, I'll give it that, where in a lot of fiction, especially fiction like this, which involves a romance, there's always this way of making the characters be together in the end, whereas Werner dies. And I'm genuinely, you know, this is a big positive of this book. He doesn't die in this super dramatic, drawn out, you know, oh no, this protagonist, we're fighting for him. No, he dies suddenly, very much like people died in wars. They died suddenly, unwittingly, unknowingly, in ways that they wouldn't have expected. So that's a big positive. I just couldn't personally get behind Werner as a character for the most part. You know, there were glimpses where I could, but that was mostly in his interactions with other characters, and to be honest, I cared a little bit more for the other characters than I did for Werner. Again, this is probably a personal thing. I just can't ever get behind a character who is a Nazi in any sense, really. I don't think media has tried to do it before. Not really. It was the same feeling I had with the boy in striped pajamas. Didn't really care about, I can't remember the character's name, the one that's played by the guy
Hugo Cabret
in the movie Hugo. I didn't really care for that character's family at all, really. So apart from, you know, trying to make the Nazi kid sympathetic to me, I thought the rest of the book was very good. I enjoyed all of Marie-Laur's story. I enjoyed her overcoming, you know, her struggles with being blind. I enjoyed her overcoming her, you know, fears in life, her becoming a better person, her helping other people get better, her becoming stronger. The constant battle she had, even towards the end of the book, well, towards the end of the 1940s, the World War II section of the book, I very much enjoyed that section because it really made her seem realistic, that even though she's the protagonist, even though she has fought so hard and she's overcome so much in this book, she is like mentally struggling at one point, and like she's having this conversation with herself / her father, well, you know, her father through herself, of her utter desperation. And it, you know, it does very well at demonstrating the utter desperation people experience and went through during war. Werner's character goes through something sort of similar, but because of who he is as a character, you know, being a Nazi aside, I didn't get that perspective from him. He didn't fight as hard as her, and that is part of his character, to be honest. But I never really was rooting for him all that much. Only time I rooted for him was when it came to the romance in this book. So there was a very short-lived romance between Werner and Marie-Laure. That's the only time you sort of, in my opinion, root for him, because you're like, oh, you know. And it's mostly because it would make Marie-Laure happy. The short interaction they have together, she's really the driving force of this, you know, love, of this, oh, I want them to be together because she is so great. And Werner's there, I suppose, in my opinion. I think it is very much a personal thing, in the way I morally can't come to grips with supporting certain characters because of who they are. And yeah, look, the whole way it goes into how the Hitler Youth indoctrinated these children, indoctrinated the people, yes, that is very, very well done. But also, I can't sympathize with those characters even though they went through that. And again, that is maybe a reflection on me as an individual, more so than it is a reflection on the book. The book itself is very well put together. The way it goes between time periods is very good. At the beginning, I was like, because I don't really like bouncing around in time when it comes to my novels. But this is actually done very well. Things are set up at one point that are revealed later, or things are revealed later where you're like, what does that mean? And then you understand it when you go back in time. It was done very well in that perspective. You know, very beautiful imagery. You know, it makes, you know, Brittany seem lovely. It actually makes me want to go to Brittany because it's a part of France that I've never been to, and I'm pretty sure I can maybe get a boat there from here, although I might get seasick. So it does that extremely well, and I'm sure when it comes to that show, which I'm actually not going to talk about because I don't want to promote it, so I'm going to bleep out where it is in the beginning, because that's scabbing. Support the workers, support the strikers, support the writers, and support the actors. But anyway, I digress. It will make a very good show, most likely, from a visual perspective. Just can't get behind one of the protagonists, so it kind of ruined the book for me. Like, if I could get behind Werner as a character, if I could get behind, you know, understanding him and being sympathetic towards him, I'm sure the experience of reading it would be even better, but I just can't. I thought it was a good book. I didn't think it was, you know, life-changing that it would win a Pulitzer Prize. I've read other Pulitzer Prize books and I wouldn't really put this with it. Maybe it was a slow year. Who knows? I might give Dora's other book a try, but this is the Brown Booktuber channel where we try and read books from places outside of America and Western Europe. So I probably won't touch a Dora book on this channel for a while, but if you have read All the Light We Cannot See, please comment in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think of the book. A link to the book will be in the description down below as well. Remember to like, subscribe, share the video with a friend or family member. If you have any books you want me to read, probably more so from, you know, outside of Western Europe and America, because it's been a while since I've read fiction that is from, you know, Africa, Asia, South America, etc., etc. Let me know in the comment section down below. And hey, I hope you read a great book today, and the book doesn't include you having to sympathize with a character who is a Nazi. Regardless of their age, they are still a Nazi in the book.